The boy's voice trembled when he said it. Quiet, cracked, desperate. "He's not my real dad." The diner buzz faded. Forks froze. And when the biker in the leather jacket slowly turned around, every person in the room sucked in a breath. Because some truths demand protection. Before we start the story, tell us wherever you're watching from. Tell us in the comments. What touched you most in this story? The noon rush at Harbolite Diner was its usual mix of truckers, tourists, and local fishermen shaking off salt and wind. But everything shifted the moment Owen Hale, age 9, slipped through the front door clutching a backpack to his chest like a shield. His eyes were red, cheeks blotchy, hair wind-tossed from running. Behind him stormed a man twice his size, jaw tight, eyes sharp with anger. "Owen!" he barked. The boy flinched. He scanned the diner desperately, breath shallow, searching for someone. Anyone. Not him. Then Owen's gaze caught on a biker at the counter. Leather vest marked with the unmistakable Hell's Angels patch. Colt Maddox, tall, broad-shouldered, road-worn, quietly sipping black coffee. Owen didn't hesitate. He darted across the room and grabbed a fistful of Colt's jacket. With a voice barely above a whisper, but carrying a lifetime of fear, he said, "Please, don't let him take me." Colt set his mug down slowly. The diner stilled. The man in the doorway shoved forward. "Boy, get over here now." Owen pressed closer, trembling. And that was when Colt turned around, calm, firm, unreadable. Everything changed in that second. Colt's eyes, cold as storm steel, flicked from Owen to the towering man barreling toward them. "Step away from the kid," Colt said quietly, too quietly. The man scoffed. "Mind your business. He's my son." Owen shook his head violently, voice cracking. "No, he's not my real dad. But the words died in his throat. Colt rose slowly from his stool, leather creaking, filling the space like a wall materializing from thin air. "Kid says he's not going with you," he stated. "So he's not." The man jabbed a finger toward Colt's chest. "You don't know what's going on." Colt didn't blink. "I know fear when I hear it." The diner staff froze, torn between calling someone and staying out of the line of fire. Owen pressed against Colt's side. "Milo, no." Colt's dog. "No, already used Milo previously. Skip." Instead, his tiny hands trembling. "Please," he whispered. "Don't let him take me back." Something in Colt's expression shifted. An old wound, a familiar pain. "You got a name, kid?" "Owen," he whispered. Colt nodded once, decisive. "All right, Owen. You stay behind me." The man sneered. "Big mistake, biker." Colt stepped forward. "Try me." The man lunged, fueled by anger and alcohol. Colt didn't flinch. He intercepted the grab with one hand, gripping the man's wrist firmly enough to halt him mid-motion. "Back off," Colt growled. The diner collectively inhaled. The man jerked his arm free and staggered back, eyes narrowing. "You got no idea what that kid's done. He lies. He steals. He's 9, Colt cut in sharply. "Kids don't run 6 blocks into a diner begging strangers for help because everything's fine." Owen's stepfather, Grant Keller, as he would later be identified, flushed with rage. "Mind your own." The door chimed again. Another man froze in the doorway, a fisherman, pausing mid-step as he recognized the tension. Colt looked at Owen. "You hurt anywhere?" Owen shook his head quickly, but Colt could see the fresh bruise along his forearm, half hidden under the sleeve. Grant followed the biker's gaze and snarled. "He fell." "Kids don't fall in fingerprint shapes," Colt murmured. A muscle in Grant's jaw twitched. "He's coming home." Colt stepped between them, tall enough to shadow Owen completely. "Not today." Grant's eyes hardened. "You think I'm scared of some biker?" Colt smiled darkly. "You really should be." Before the confrontation exploded, the diner's owner, Marcy Duval, peeked out from behind the counter. "Should I call the sheriff?" she whispered. Colt's lips barely moved. "Yeah, now." Grant heard and flew into a panic. No cops. He lunged for Owen again. Colt reacted instantly, moving the boy behind him while planting a firm palm against Grant's chest, stopping him cold. Sit down, Colt said, voice steady as bedrock. Grant shoved at him, wildly swinging. Colt sidestepped the blow with ease, catching Grant's wrist and twisting just enough to remove the fight without inflicting harm. The man collapsed into a booth, cursing. Owen squeezed Colt's jacket, heart pounding. Is he going to take me? Colt shook his head. Not while I'm breathing. Grant tried rising again, but Colt placed a heavy boot against the edge of the booth, blocking him. Stay. The authority in his voice was enough to freeze the man in place. The room remained eerily quiet except for Owen's shaky breaths. A siren wailed faintly in the distance, approaching fast. Colt crouched just enough to meet Owen's eyes. You did the brave thing coming here. Owen swallowed. I didn't know where else to go. Colt nodded gently. You came to the right place. Minutes later, the sheriff barreled in. Sheriff Lana Mercer, a woman built of grit and quiet authority. She took one glance at the scene. Grant snarling in a booth, Colt standing like a sentinel, and Owen gripping his vest. Someone explain, she commanded. Colt stepped back slightly, allowing Owen to speak. His voice wavered. He's not my dad. My real dad died. Grant, he yells. Break stuff. Grabs me. Owen lifted his sleeve, revealing faint bruises. Lana's expression shifted instantly, professionalism tightening into protective fury. Grant shot up. He's lying. He's always lying, that little. Colt moved an inch forward, and Grant's voice died in his throat. Lana snapped her fingers. Grant Keller, sit down and don't move. Deputy Ortiz cuffed him without hesitation. You can't do this, Grant shouted. He's a child, Lana barked. And you're under arrest for endangerment and assault. As Grant was dragged out, Owen's knees buckled. Colt caught him gently. Easy, kid. Lana softened. Owen, do you have anywhere safe to go? Owen's lip trembled. No, Colt didn't wait for permission. He does now. Lana studied Colt's stance, protective, unwavering, and nodded. Then he's with you until we figure this out. Colt guided Owen outside, keeping a steady hand on the boy's shoulder as the late afternoon wind whipped across the gravel parking lot. Sheriff Mercer stayed close, her eyes scanning for any lingering threat. We'll process Grant and notify Child Services, she explained. Owen stiffened at the words. They'll take me away? Lana hesitated, glancing at Colt. Not necessarily, sweetheart. They'll want what's safest for you. Owen's voice shrank to barely a whisper. Please don't make me go somewhere alone. Colt knelt so he was eye level, leather creaking as he lowered. You won't be alone. Not tonight. Owen blinked at him, confused. Why are you helping me? Colt's jaw tightened. Because when I was your age, someone should have helped me, and nobody did. Lana softened, recognizing the rare honesty in his words. Colt has temporary protective custody until we sort things out, she said gently. You're safe with him. Owen nodded slowly, shoulders finally unclenching. Colt opened his truck door, lifting Owen into the passenger seat with careful hands. Better buckle up, he murmured. Road gets bumpy. For the first time that day, Owen managed a tiny smile. Because for the first time that day, he felt hope. Colt's truck rumbled down the coastal highway toward Breakwater Point, a small motorcycle-friendly town hugged by cliffs and ocean. Owen sat curled in the passenger seat, backpack clutched to his chest, eyes drifting between Colt and the passing waves. Where are we going? Owen asked softly. Clubhouse, Colt replied. Friends of mine. Safe people. Owen hesitated. My teacher says bikers are dangerous. Colt smirked faintly. Some are. Some ain't. Same as any group. The boy considered this. Are your friends nice? Colt nodded. To people who need help? Yeah. They're the best. Owen studied Colt's vest, the death's head patch, the scuffed leather, the weathered stitching. What's it mean? Colt kept his eyes on the road. Means loyalty. Means you don't let people fight alone. Owen swallowed, digesting that. After a long moment, he whispered, I've been alone a long time. Colt glanced over, voice gentling. Not anymore. Owen pressed his forehead to the window, watching the sun bleed orange across the water. The fear that once tightened every part of him slowly loosened. In its place, a fragile trust began to root like something he hadn't felt since his real father died. The Breakwater Angels clubhouse sat tucked behind a weathered boatyard, its wooden siding sun-bleached from years of salt and wind. As Colt pulled up, engines inside rumbled. Someone tuning a bike, someone else laughing. Owen stiffened instinctively. It's okay, Colt said. They look rough, but they're good men. The front door swung open before Colt even knocked. A burly, tattooed biker with an oddly gentle face stepped out, wiping grease from his hands. Briggs Harbor Delaney, the chapter's VP. Heard you caused a stir at the diner, Harbor said, raising a brow. Colt motioned toward Owen. Kid needed help. Harbor's expression softened instantly. Hey, little man. Owen dropped his gaze. Hi, he whispered. Harbor crouched down, voice kind. You hungry? We've got stew. Owen blinked, surprised by the warmth behind the gravelly voice. Inside, more bikers looked up from their cards and tools. Nobody joked. Nobody stared long. They simply nodded with quiet understanding. Colt guided Owen to a clean corner of the clubhouse, near a heater. You're safe here, he reminded. Owen nodded slowly, letting warmth seep back into his bones. For the first time in months, he felt like someone wanted him there. While Owen warmed up, Colt stepped into the adjoining room with Harbor and Roach, the sergeant-at-arms. Grant Keller, Harbor repeated, rubbing his beard. He's been on our radar. Nasty temper. Too much booze. Roach crossed his arms. Saw him screaming at the kid outside the hardware store last week. Should have stepped in then. Colt's voice darkened. Well, we're stepping in now. Harbor nodded. What's the sheriff say? Protective custody. Kid stays with me till social services investigates. Roach snorted. That's gonna go real smooth. You barely sleep as it is. Colt glanced toward the doorway where Owen sat sipping stew with trembling hands. He needs someone tonight. I can sleep tomorrow. Harbor clapped him on the shoulder. You always did take in strays. He's not a stray, Colt said quietly. He's a kid who got dealt a bad hand. Roach muttered. We'll keep watch. Keller shows his face. He won't make it past the parking lot. No violence, Colt warned. Roach smirked. Course not. Just conversations. Colt returned to Owen, who looked up with cautious hope. Is it okay if I stay? Owen whispered. Colt nodded gently. Yeah, kid. You stay as long as you need. The clubhouse settled into a protective rhythm. Harbor set Owen up with extra blankets. Roach found an old sketchpad and pencils. Someone turned down the rock music without being asked. Owen sat cross-legged on the couch, sketching a small motorcycle with surprising accuracy. Colt watched him from across the room. You draw good, he said. Owen shrugged shyly. My dad taught me my real dad. Before he died. Colt pulled up a chair. What was he like? Owen's eyes softened. He made everything fun. Even chores. He used to say every day could be an adventure if you looked at it right. Colt nodded slowly. Sounds like a good man. He was, Owen whispered. And then Grant came, and everything stopped being fun. Colt felt something twist inside his chest. Familiar, old, unwelcome. Kid, he said quietly. What happened today wasn't your fault. None of it. Owen stared at his drawing. Sometimes, I wish I had a real dad again. Colt swallowed hard. You will have men in your corner, he said softly. Whether it's one or a whole clubhouse. Owen looked up. Does that mean you'll stay? Colt answered without hesitation. As long as you need me to. Night settled over the clubhouse like a heavy blanket. Quiet, protective, full of unspoken promises. Harbor dimmed the lights. Roach checked the locks twice. and most of the brothers drifted home or to their bunks. Colt made up a cot in the corner near the heater, layering blankets like he'd done 100 times on cold nights out on the road. Owen changed quietly into an oversized Angels t-shirt Harbor found, the hem nearly reaching his knees. "I look silly," Owen murmured. "You look warm," Colt replied. Owen hesitated before crawling into the cot, clutching his backpack. "What's in there?" Colt asked. Owen swallowed. "Just my dad's old pocket knife. Pictures. A few things Grant didn't throw away." Colt nodded. "You keep what matters to you." Owen lay back, staring at the ceiling beams. After a long silence, he whispered, "Colt, what happens tomorrow?" Colt sat on a nearby chair, arms resting on his knees. "Tomorrow you and I meet with Child Services. They'll ask questions and you just tell the truth. I'll be right there." Owen's breath hitched. "They won't take me back to Grant, right?" Colt leaned closer. "Kid, I won't let that happen." Around 2 a.m., Owen jolted awake with a cry. Not loud, but sharp enough to slice through the quiet. Colt was at his side instantly. "Hey, easy. You're safe." Owen blinked rapidly, breath coming in small, shallow gasps. I dreamed he was here, at the door, yelling, grabbing me." Colt rested a steady hand on his shoulder. "Dreams can't touch you. And nobody's getting through that door without going through 4 angry bikers and a sheriff." Owen managed a shaky laugh, wiping his eyes. "Do you ever get nightmares?" Colt hesitated, something flickering in his gaze. "Yeah," he admitted. "Sometimes." "What do you do?" Colt pulled over a blanket that had slipped to the floor and tucked it around the boy. "I get up, breathe. Remember, I'm not there anymore." Owen looked at him thoughtfully. "Did someone hurt you too?" Colt didn't answer directly. "I learned what kind of man I wanted to be by surviving men I never wanted to become." Owen absorbed that in silence, then whispered, "I'm glad you became the good kind." Colt's throat tightened unexpectedly. "Go back to sleep, kid. I'm right here." Morning broke with a soft fog creeping across the boatyard. The distant gulls cried, and somewhere in the clubhouse coffee began brewing, thick and comforting. Owen shuffled out, rubbing tired eyes, backpack slung over one shoulder. Colt handed him a warm muffin and a glass of juice. "Big day," Colt said, keeping his tone light. "You ready?" Owen nodded, small but determined. Harbor drove them in his truck, safer, less conspicuous. The Child Services building sat tucked between a credit union and a dentist's office. Plain brick. Forgettable. Owen's steps slowed the closer they got. "What if they think I'm lying?" he whispered. Colt crouched in front of him. "Owen, bruises don't lie. Fear doesn't lie. And I'll speak for you if you freeze." "Okay?" Owen nodded. Inside, a caseworker named Marilyn Shore greeted them. Late 50s, soft eyes, gentle presence. Someone who knew the difference between a frightened kid and a manipulative one. "Owen," she said kindly. "I'm glad you came." Owen's voice was tiny. "I didn't want to, but Grant. He was getting worse." Marilyn glanced at Colt. "And this man." Owen stepped closer to Colt's side. "He's the one who helped." The interview room was small but warm, decorated with children's drawings and stuffed animals lining the window ledge. Owen sat beside Colt, clutching the strap of his backpack. Marilyn opened a file. "Owen, I want you to tell me anything you feel comfortable sharing. No pressure." Owen nodded slowly. His voice trembled at first, but once he started, the words wouldn't stop. He told her about the yelling, the shattered plates, the nights he hid in closets, the times Grant grabbed his wrist too hard, the times he wasn't allowed to call his grandparents. Colt kept one hand resting lightly on the back of Owen's chair, near, solid, never pushing. Marilyn listened without interrupting, her expression softening with each detail. When Owen finished, he wiped his cheeks quickly as if embarrassed. Marilyn leaned forward. "You were very brave to tell me all that. I believe you." Owen exhaled with relief so sudden it made Colt's chest ache. Marilyn closed her folder. Based on what you've told me and what the sheriff reported, you will not be returning to Grant's home. Owen's shoulders trembled. Where do I go? Marilyn looked at Colt. If he's willing, with the man who protected you. Colt hadn't expected it. Not that quickly, not that officially. Marilyn continued. A temporary placement. A foster arrangement under supervised oversight. But Owen is safe with you. And legally, you can take him home today. Owen froze, eyes wide. I can stay with Colt. Marilyn smiled. Yes, sweetheart. If he agrees. Owen spun to Colt. Hope flooding his face so intensely it nearly toppled Colt's composure. Colt swallowed hard. Yeah, kid. You can stay with me. Owen launched forward, wrapping his arms around Colt's middle. It wasn't a small hug either. It was the kind that came from a child who'd never had a safe person before. Colt stiffened in surprise, then slowly rested a hand on the boy's back. Marilyn filled out the paperwork while Owen continued clinging as if letting go would make the offer disappear. When the documents were signed and sealed, Marilyn said, He'll need a stable environment. Routines. Patience. Colt nodded. I can give him that. As they walked out of the office, Harbor clapped Colt on the back. Didn't peg you for the dad type. Colt gave a rare, soft smile. Didn't peg myself either. Owen tugged his sleeve. Can we go home now? Colt squeezed his shoulder. Yeah, bud. Let's go home. The ride back to Breakwater Point felt different this time. Lighter somehow, like the road itself understood something sacred had shifted. Owen sat in the passenger seat with the window cracked, salty wind brushing through his hair, as he held the signed placement papers on his lap like they were treasure. This means I'm safe now, right? He asked. Colt glanced over. Yeah, kid. Safe. Owen smiled, a real one, small but bright. When they reached the clubhouse, Harbor and Roach were outside tuning bikes. The moment they spotted Colt's truck, they straightened. Owen stepped out, gripping his backpack straps. Everything go okay? Harbor asked. Colt nodded. He's staying with me. Roach grinned. Look at that kid. Upgraded from that jerk to a whole clubhouse. Owen giggled for the first time. Colt led him inside, showing him a small spare room they used for traveling brothers. A clean bed, a dresser, a lamp shaped like a lighthouse. It's not fancy, Colt said. Owen shook his head. It's mine. For as long as you want. Owen touched the quilt gently. I never had a room that felt safe. Colt leaned on the doorway, voice soft. You do now. That evening, the Angels held an unofficial welcome meal. Grilled chicken, mashed potatoes, and warm rolls that filled the clubhouse with comforting smells. Owen sat between Harbor and Colt, overwhelmed but glowing. So, Roach said, passing the salad, you like bikes? Owen nodded vigorously. My real dad had one. He let me sit on the tank when I was little. Harbor chuckled. You're officially in the right place, then. Colt watched the boy take it all in, the laughter, the teasing, the easy camaraderie. For the first time, Owen wasn't shrinking into corners. He wasn't flinching at sudden noises. He was simply a kid. After dinner, Roach wheeled out a small metal box. Found this at a garage sale, he said shyly. Inside sat a scale model Harley kit. Owen's eyes widened. For me. For you, Roach affirmed. Figure a kid with steady hands and a big heart ought to build his first bike, even if it's only 6 inches tall. Owen hugged the box to his chest. I've never built anything before. Colt smiled. You will. And I'll help. Owen beamed. The clubhouse, once intimidating and loud, now felt like the safest place in the world. Just when the evening seemed settled, headlights flashed outside. Colt's posture shifted instantly, alert, protective. He stepped onto the porch, heart tightening, until Sheriff Mercer emerged from the shadows. Easy, she said. Not trouble. Colt crossed his arms. What's going on? She exhaled. Grant Keller's been arraigned. No bail. Judge didn't like the pattern of violence. Colt relaxed slightly. Good. But there's something else, she added. His sister called. Says she wants custody. Claims Owen should stay in the family. Colt stiffened. He doesn't even know her. Lana nodded. Which is why I'm here. The judge wants a statement. From Owen and from his temporary guardian. Owen stepped onto the porch, hearing his name. Do I have to go with her? Lana knelt. Not if the court believes staying with Colt is better for you. Owen's eyes flicked upward. I want to stay with him. Lana smiled softly. Then tell the judge that tomorrow. Tell him exactly what you told me. Colt rested a hand on the boy's shoulder. We'll face it together. Owen leaned against him without hesitation. For the first time, Colt realized the kid wasn't just trusting him, he was choosing him. The courthouse waiting room buzzed with murmurs the next morning. Owen sat beside Colt, swinging his feet anxiously while clutching his backpack. Across the room, Grant's sister, Denise Keller, watched them with tight lips and crossed arms. She looked nothing like Grant, but her eyes held the same flinty hardness. I can provide stability, she snapped at Marilyn. A proper home. Structure. Marilyn gestured toward Owen. He needs emotional safety, not just furniture. The bailiff finally called their names. Inside the small courtroom, the judge peered over his glasses. Owen, you requested to speak? Owen stepped forward, voice trembling but clear. Yes, sir. Colt's breath caught as the boy began. I don't want to live with Grant anymore. He hurts people when he's mad. And I don't know Denise. Denise huffed. I'm family. Owen looked at her, then at Colt. So is he. The room went still. Owen continued. Colt's the first person who didn't yell, who didn't grab me, who stayed. He's safe. Colt's chest tightened. The judge leaned back, absorbing the boy's sincerity. Thank you, Owen. That helps a great deal. Colt placed a reassuring hand on the boy's back, pride swelling quietly in his eyes. The judge returned after a long pause, ruling firmly. Temporary placement with Colt Maddox will continue indefinitely, pending routine check-ins. Owen's emotional stability is paramount, and it is clear he feels secure where he is. Denise protested, but the judge silenced her with a raised hand. This is about the child, not adult pride. Owen ran to Colt, relief dissolving into tears he'd held back for too long. Colt knelt, hugging the boy tight. Told you, he murmured. Ain't letting you face this alone. Outside the courthouse, Harbor and Roach waited on their bikes like a protective escort. Owen wiped his eyes. Does this mean I get to stay? Colt rested a hand on his shoulder. Yeah, bud. You stay. Owen grinned. A wide, unguarded grin that lit his whole face. Then, can we build the model bike when we get home? Colt chuckled. We'll start today. Roach ruffled Owen's hair. Welcome to the crew, kid. Owen beamed even brighter. As they walked toward the trucks and bikes, Owen whispered, Colt. Yeah. Can I call you something else? Something like... Colt paused, heart thudding. Owen smiled up at him. Can I call you Dad? Colt swallowed hard, eyes softening. Yeah, Owen. You can. If the story touched you, stay with us. Hit like, subscribe, and ring the bell for more rides filled with courage, loyalty, and unexpected family. Your support keeps these stories alive, and you're part of the journey now.